Good morning, everybody. Janine Labella here with episode 12 of Behind the Bouquet. I'm at the Ritz Carlton White Plains with Nina Dolan, the catering sales manager. Thank you so much for coming on. We're so excited to share some of what this property has to offer for weddings and events, as learn some maybe secrets or ins and outs that the general public may not know. It's a gorgeous property, probably 30 minutes from the city. Really can hold and design your own space here, make it customized. I'm so excited to chat with you and share some great information and introduce you to a new property if you've never even known that there's a Ritz Carlton in White Plains here. So thank you for coming on.
Well, thank you so much for coming out this way and for giving us the opportunity to show you our home here. So we appreciate it, and I appreciate the time. So.
For sure. So I think one common thread that we've realized we had is a love for luxury hotels. And I'm a little bit jealous of your background. So can you tell us some of it?
Yeah, so I'm from Florida originally. My family is actually from New York, but my background is actually at resorts in Florida. So I started at a couple hotels, actually first in Dallas. I went to Florida State University, majored in hospitality, always knew I wanted to be in the event management field, always knew I kind of had a affinity for weddings.
And long hours.
And long hours, yeah, for weddings. And so I actually, unfortunately, didn't get to start in the wedding and event industry itself. Usually that's not how it happens right out of college. I actually was a housekeeping manager when I first started, and then worked my way went back to Florida and became a food and beverage manager.
At a Marriott property?
At a JW Marriott, actually, in Marco Island, and I was there for about 2 or 3 years, which was great because I got to learn, how much respect that culinary side of everything deserves. Just, working with chefs and restaurant managers and, the frontline team hand in hand really gives me an appreciation for what they do.
For sure, and without any food and beverage, there would be no events.
Exactly. So. Yeah. So it's so important to just kind of see, that aspect of things, and then even the room side of things and what it all takes to make a full weekend happen. And then a few years in, I just, an event coordinator position opened up and I got a break, and it's been, I've just been promoted and worked my way up into more of the luxury brand ever since. My last property was actually in Santa Rosa Beach, Florida, in a little coastal town called 30A, and it's there that I really got to explore more of not just only the wedding market after a couple years, but the luxury wedding market, and get to go to engage and kind of see, how all those operations go up to the next level, which is so fun of an experience and so creative, and work with some people that really challenged me creatively, and every day I learned something new. So
for sure, you have a ballroom on this property, and the names that walk in this door, they come in and they see a ballroom, but they see something completely different.
Right.
And, I think that's what the luxury brand is. It's really taking it to the next level, like you were mentioning. And I think that's across the board, even, going from a 4 to a 5-star property or anything, you see the difference. And most of that difference, I feel like, is with service.
Yes, absolutely. Our ladies and gentlemen are here, and they really care, which is really the coolest thing to see. We have one of our ladies and gentlemen, Christina. She noticed a groom was taking pictures outside, and she noticed it was kind of hot. So she literally went outside across the street and made sure he had bottled waters for all of his friends. And no one told her to do that. It's just that extra step of anticipating the need on such an important and special day, whether it's a wedding or a bar mitzvah or even a corporate event. It's important to someone, and they really recognize that.
I say this all the time, and you just you just hit it, like anticipation. That's what we do. That's what my team does. As a planner, that's what I have to do. You know, I can lead up to the day and say, like, let's be prepared the week before so that we know, like, anything arises, like, we can handle it that week. But anticipation and knowing what's coming and knowing what the mother of the bride wants or mother of the groom, like, before they even ask for it. Yeah. I think that's what sets people apart.
For sure.
And you definitely have the tools here at the Ritz to make it happen.
And that's how we build that relationship too, you know, and that's what, you know, keeps a long lasting relationship past, you know, past the wedding, past, you know, the event. And, you know, that's what the Ritz Carlton is all about.
So sign me up. So can you give a bit of a background about the property? You said it's been here for 11 years.
It has. It's undergone 2 renovations, one recently actually. So the owners felt that it was time to kind of soften the tones, especially within the banquet space. So they've actually redone all the carpeting within the past 2 years, so it's fairly new. They've also expanded the gallery space, which is, just so you know, a lot of times where we hold both our ceremonies or cocktail receptions, sometimes just full dinners or brunches depending on the size. And they've completely taken, you know, a room and expanded it to create more of an open space. So the owners do really care about appealing to that social market.
For sure. I mean, I feel like in your home, that's all everyone talks about now. You just want open space,
right? And
no like closed off rooms. So why not bring that into the event world?
Exactly, exactly. So they really felt that need, and they really went into the ballroom, and I think they thought about it very strategically. So, for instance, we have these like silk wall panels, which I had no idea, but I even had DJs and bands come in, and they're like, oh my god, this like absorbs the reverb of the room. And so there's all these little elements that even I find, you know, day to day that were really thought out when they made the room. You know, there's mirrors to kind of expand the feel of it and make it seem larger. So it's definitely a newer, more thought out space. It's very versatile, I will say too.
I agree.
So, you know, whether you're having a bar mitzvah revolved around race cars versus having, you know, a classic, you know, understated, elegant affair, or having a corporate meeting, it suits really all levels. And so that's really what the owners had in mind. Of course, guest room, we have 146 guest rooms here at the hotel. 38 of those are suites. One thing we pride ourselves on with our guest rooms is that it just has so much square footage.
It really does.
You know?
Right there today.
Yeah, so, you know, getting out of the city, you'll definitely notice a difference.
Especially like a couple like coming for their wedding, they have so much stuff. You just need to like a place to put it, or even like guests who have kids, like you feel like you can all fit in the room.
Exactly.
And like then leave the kids with the babysitter.
Right, exactly. It's kind of like a one-stop shop for the weekend, which makes it really nice, almost like a destination without it being a destination. It is 36 minutes out of the city if you're taking the express Metro North from Grand Central. And then depending on traffic, about a 45-minute drive. How long did it take you?
It took me 45 minutes from Long Island.
Okay. Oh, even better.
Yeah.
So depending, of course, which route you take. It's 10 minutes away from the Westchester Airport. And then, of course, we have 3 other airports that we all know about in our vicinity. So it's very accessible. And then, of course, White Plains in itself is, you know, a mini city amongst a city. I mean, it's...
Absolutely. I feel like White Plains was almost calling for a property like this to come and, you know, be here, because there are obviously other hotels and properties, but this is the only luxury property in all of Westchester or all of upstate.
I don't know about all of upstate, but definitely all of Westchester. This is the only, you know, Ritz Carlton type brand within this area. And so it does work well in the sense of even partnering with other venues in the area. I mean, just having a nice getting ready location that matches like other top tier venues within this area is also nice as a partnership too. So we just love our community, and we're happy to be a part of it and kind of take things to the next level.
Perfect. And so how many people fit comfortably in that ballroom?
So within our ballroom space, we can comfortably fit, if you have a dance floor and a band, a maximum of 310, 320 if you really want to push it, but let's not, to 310. Then of course, if you lower to a DJ, that of course gives you a little bit more space, and that's for a dinner and dancing reception. Of course, if we're just dinner, we can go all the way up to 420 as our maximum.
What do you think your average guest count is?
250 to 300, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, about
So that's a
250.
perfect size for this ballroom.
Yeah.
And for ceremony spaces, there are a couple of different options. If you are on the smaller side, they have a great kind of vestibule almost area.
Yeah, it's our gallery space.
Gallery
it's floor to ceiling windows. And so that is where a lot of times our, I would say, more intimate ceremonies take place. So we can hold up to 140 in that location. And so that's a nice location if you're wanting to kind of separate out the flow of the evening. The other option, of course, if you increase in guest count, we can have the ceremony location in the ballroom and then flip it within an hour time frame, and we will work with you to set that up successfully.
It happens all the time.
It happens all the time. It's a really nice flow, honestly. I mean, it's aesthetically, it works out so well. Our team is so used to it, and it's kind of nice to see. I really want to have a camera in the room one day when we do it.
The time lapse.
Just to show the time lapse of it, because everyone kind of comes together, and it's all hands on deck, and we flip the space, and literally you're just having a cocktail outside. You don't even know. So it's a really cool experience there. And then of course we have a very unique option, and we have a partnership with Kenobi, which is a privately managed restaurant on our 42nd and 43rd floors of the building. So a lot of times our clients will choose to sometimes have a ceremony up there, partnered with a small cocktail reception, or maybe they choose to do the full cocktail reception up there, and then dinner and dance down here with us on the second floor, where we have 3 elevators that successfully will get a very large group, to be honest, down here within a 20-minute time frame.
That's crazy.
So
I love it.
It's a very unique experience. You feel like you are, owning the entire building, because you're on the top floor, and then you have the guest rooms, and then you're down here on the second floor, and you get a completely different scope of culinary experiences and aesthetic experiences, and it's just unique to anything I've ever done in my experience. So,
and your guests really are moving the whole time, which keeps them excited. Like, where are we going next?
Yeah. So
that's a nice option, and it's beautiful up there. Like, I would host an event there in a minute.
Yeah. You can actually see a silhouette of the city, which is so cool to see from that far. And then, of course, you can see certain views of the Hudson too. So,
when a client comes to our planner, where do you like them to be in the process? Obviously, the venue is one of the first things that gets booked, but most of your clients, they know they're looking for a hotel wedding, or they're coming to kind of check it out? Like, is this something that I want? Do they want the venue and the sleeping arrangements to be at the same place? Like, where are the clients' heads at?
It's honestly, in the beginning, a whole scope of that. So, to be honest with you, it can start, as you mentioned, knowing in their minds that they want a hotel venue, or it can just be like, we're just venue shopping. It's really a whole scope of everything. Of course, we get leads from any sort of direction. But my biggest thing is I do like to get you on the phone at least.
It's so big. Like,
it's so important just to have a conversation, and I encourage that to any client with any of your vendors. Just get them on the phone, have a talk. From there you'll feel more comfortable. You'll get some of those nerves out, I think, too.
Right.
And it's a way for us to truly understand what's important to you.
The general inquiry email definitely doesn't do that.
It doesn't do it justice.
Yeah.
Of course, the first question everyone asks is, what is your date available? What date? And if so, of course we will start there as a starting point, but, I always say, I always ask what your flexibility is. If the date's available, yay, that's, of course, a great way to start the conversation. But if it's not, sometimes it's not. So we, look for that flexibility, and also just that's a way for us to know what's important to you. Is it, having the wedding during the summertime?
Mm-hmm.
Is it having it, when the leaves are falling, or is it, more important, the food and beverage piece to you?
Right.
And so that's really what we hone in to make, a wedding yours, and how we can help you do that. So.
Absolutely. And now this is like my favorite thing that I learned today. If you book, can you tell them about the honeymoon perk?
Oh yeah. So we are lucky enough to here at the Ritz Carlton to be affiliated with Marriott International and now Starwood. If anyone is a new Bonvoy member, yay. So we actually will offer you a honeymoon on us, which is 2 days at any hotel in the U.S. or Caribbean. That we basically arrange for you, and it's complimentary if you are to spend a certain amount, which is pretty feasible at your wedding. And so we'll go ahead and book that for you. Also, if you're a Marriott Rewards, I didn't mention this to you, but if you're a Marriott Rewards with Carlton or Starwood member, or now Bonvoy, you actually receive 2 points for every dollar spent. So really, like, your whole honeymoon could be paid for through points and through that promotion afterwards. So it's a really
get
nice
married and then go on a honeymoon.
Right. It's really like a nice perk, just because we are lucky enough to be a part of such a large, growing, and progressive company. So
absolutely. And one thing that really stuck out to me from our conversation this morning and viewing all the spaces was really, like, you're flexible. You just want people to be honest about what they're doing, I think, and then have a conversation about how we can make it happen.
Exactly. I always say, look through our guide, of course. It is flexible. It is customizable. Of course, I want it to be something you're comfortable with. However, I always say, prioritize what's important to you.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you will feel a little overwhelmed, because I always say pick like the first 3 things in your head overall that you really want in your wedding. Is it, I really want to have like these great food stations during my cocktail hour? Or do I really, is the band super important to me?
Absolutely, such good points.
And those 3 things, that's what you focus on for both your budget and for your own peace of mind, honestly. And then, as you go through the planning process, those things are checked off, you start opening some other opportunities, and I think
right, the rest will kind of fall into place.
The rest kind of falls into place. So
now, what's your role? So the client comes and books this incredible wedding at the Ritz Carlton White Plains, and do you see them through the whole entire event?
Great question. So just in terms of my personal market, I am one of 4 sales managers. My market is, of course, social and catering. So with that said, I handle weddings, and I sell bar and bat mitzvahs, and then, or b'nai mitzvahs, and then I also sell room blocks, and then pretty much like any social event. So like your mom wants to have a 90th birthday celebration, you see me. Same thing with anniversaries, anything in that regard. So pretty much anything fun.
Good person to know.
But as far as weddings, I actually will stay with you as your event manager throughout the whole process. So I will, detail an event order for you, which we can get into at another time. But
that's different than a lot of properties, because a lot of times, like, past the sales, you get passed to somebody else. So Nina's awesome, and I would love to have her on all of my weddings.
I love weddings, to be honest with you. So I think it's important to have some sort of consistency with couples, because, it's a really big trust element to know who all is going to be involved in your wedding. And so, like, to keep the consistency and to make you feel more comfortable, I will stay with you the whole process. Now, I will say I am a little bit different, and I'm very transparent about the fact that I'm not a wedding planner. I, will certainly be here the day of, and I'm here, though, to really partner with the rest of your vendors. I will of course do everything on the food and beverage side. I work closely with the culinary team, and of course the setup in collaboration with your vendors. However, I really do not go beyond the scope of the venue, which means like if there are any appointments that you would want me to be a part of, unfortunately I would, recommend a planner. And I think this one is a great one right here. So, someone who I think will, help you book your vendors. I think that's important. Someone who's going to, a lot of times too, some of the ceremonies don't take place here on property. Right. They're at a church or a synagogue or a temple, and I think just for someone to see the full scope of the wedding, I unfortunately cannot go to those locations, so it's really important to have a planner in that situation.
Yeah, even just like for peace of mind with transportation alone.
Exactly. So that would really, be the difference between myself and a wedding planner. And then of course, a wedding planner is going to have, who's been here for 20 years in this market or in the city, is going to have so many resources. And I have resources myself, but you all, have someone that's your go-to for everything.
It's our livelihood.
It's your livelihood. And so, I always say, like, before, you decide you want to contract Chiavari Chairs with me, if you have a planner, like, hold off a second. Let's see what's going to be more financially suitable for you, because they may know someone that I don't know. We're all here to help you in the end. So, I'm very transparent in that regard.
Perfect. Are there any time constraints on like a wedding? Does it have to be over by 1 since you are a hotel, or?
Great question. So we do, of course, deal with some noise as a concern. We'll go until about 2 a.m. technically. However, our standard pricing is based off of 5 hours. So that's 1 hour of cocktail, 4 hours of dinner and dance, plus the ceremony. So that said, you are going to be paying, per hour for the additional services.
Right.
But that's completely up to you and what you feel is necessary.
I might be like an old geezer, but I truly in my heart of hearts feel like the best weddings end between 11:30 and 12, and then you go into like an after party.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. Of course, I think it kind of changes too, depending on the time of year. When your sunset is,
right.
And taking that into consideration. We are not necessarily an outdoor venue, so that's not a huge concern of ours, but maybe for your photographer it is. So, I'm open to, whatever time frame you'd like. Just know that within your package, it is 5 hours.
This might be a curveball question, but are there any like local parks around here? Sorry. That like for those outdoor photos, like
great question. There's actually, we do have a small park adjacent to us that a lot of times I'll host like a small brunch in. So sometimes that can work well for photos. A lot of the, I would say, architecture outside is a little bit more modern. For instance, like Mediterraneo, which is a restaurant across the street, is like full mirrored, so which is kind of cool for certain photos.
Right. And
then Pepsi Park, if you are willing to have some sort of transportation, is only like a 10-minute drive away.
Oh, nice.
And that has so many lush areas too. That's where a lot of our couples prefer to go to.
First looks and
for first looks and things like that. There are, of course, many places throughout the hotel. Canopy is an option too, on the roof as a first look option, depending on availability. And then I actually discovered a flower wall like down the street that someone put in. Yeah, I can show you it later. But it's literally a wall of certain greenery, and it's like designed to have an artistic viewpoint on it.
Awesome.
And it's literally on a parking garage, but it covers the parking garage, and it's just such a cool photo element.
And I think those are like exactly what photographers are looking for. That like one space that stands out in like an entire city.
Yeah, and I showed it to a couple of photographers, and they're like, "What?" So
cool.
As long as that still stays there, I'll be telling the city, like, "Hey, keep that there."
Awesome. And I think you touched upon so many interesting and interesting facts, like especially just specifically about your property and you know, what it would be like to have a wedding here. Do you still have some dates available for we're in 2019, right?
Mm-hmm.
2019?
We do, yeah. I would say September, a couple dates in September.
Okay.
Yeah.
So those last minute weddings, like, trust me, last minute is not September for me now. Last minute would be like an April wedding at this point for me, and I'd
have some availability. I think we do. Yeah. I mean, it may not be a Saturday on certain dates, but, you know, I think we can at least find a Friday or Sunday.
Awesome.
Yeah. So we can certainly, you know, I'm willing to look as long as there's some sort of flexibility, for sure.
Sure, absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Is there anything else you want to share?
No, I mean, I will just say, I mean, I love being at this property. I'm so happy to share it with you all today. It truly is a unique experience in the luxury market. It's versatile. It's has a sort of feel of like understated elegance, and then when
I was just saying that to Jessie.
Really?
Yeah.
Great minds think alike.
Yeah.
And then, you know, it's got a sleek modern feel depending on if you utilize canopy too.
Right, for sure.
So it's kind of like an escape from the city in the city. You know, with a probably like easier logistical element on some tokens too. So
absolutely, and like anytime you can escape from where you are, just for even like a night.
A destination within a destination.
Yeah. I'll take it.
Yeah.
Sign me up.
Exactly. Well,
I'm
thank
never
you so
leaving.
much. Right? We'll have you here if you want a massage.
Perfect. Awesome. Well, thank you so much. This was really a pleasure. And I hope you all enjoyed getting to learn a little bit about the Ritz Carlton White Plains, and looking forward to planning and executing many events here.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for coming. We really appreciate it, and I'm so excited to collaborate with you.
Absolutely. Bye, guys.